Plan a mini-season around one why-driven theme. Welcome to the podcast Why. I'm Brett Johnson, my podcast guy, your trusted friend in podcasting. This show is here to help you reconnect with your real why behind your podcast so you can keep showing up with clarity and confidence. Today, I want to talk about a planning approach that can take a lot of pressure off you and bring a lot more clarity to your listener, building a mini-season around one why-driven theme. Instead of thinking of terms of, I have to come up with a new brilliant topic every single week forever, I want you to think in terms of short, focused arcs, 4, 5, maybe 6 episodes that all work together to move your listener toward one specific outcome that's tied directly to your why. When you do this, a few things happen. Your brain has a clearer target, so topic selections get easier. Your episodes start to build on each other instead of feeling random, and your listener gets a sense of progress. We're on a journey here, not just bouncing around. If your why is your North Star, then a mini-season is like picking one particular constellation under that star and saying, for the next few episodes, we're going to live right here. In this episode, I'll share a composite story of what this looks like in practice, and then I'll walk you through a simple way to plan your own mini-season without turning it into a giant project. Let me tell you a composite story based on several podcasters I've worked with who made this shift. Imagine a host. We'll call her Dana. Dana's show is all about helping a specific group of people build healthier habits in a realistic way. Her why was clear. She wanted her listeners to feel less shame, more agency, and to actually make small changes that stuck. Her promise was something like honest conversations and simple strategies to help you build a healthier life without burning out. The challenge? Her feed looked like a grab bag. One week, she'd talk about sleep. The next week, emotional eating. The week after, morning routines. Then she'd have a guest on to talk about motivation. Then a Q&A episode. Again, none of these topics were wrong. They all technically fit her niche, but they weren't connected in a way that made it easy for her or for her listener. Planning felt like starting from scratch every single time. And for her listener, there wasn't a clear sense of, if I stick with this show for the next month, I'll make a noticeable progress in one area. When we sat down, I asked her, if your why is to help these listeners build healthier lives without burning out, what are the core themes that sit under that why? She came up with a few: sleep, stress, movement, food, self-talk, boundaries. Good. Then I asked her, if you could walk a listener through one of those areas in a focused way over, let's say, 4 or 5 episodes, which one would you start with? She picked sleep. No question about it. It was not because it was trendy, but because she knew from her work that when her listeners improved their sleep even a little, everything got easier. It was a high-impact, why-aligned area. So we mapped out a simple mini-season. 5 episodes, all under one umbrella. Sleep Without Shame was the working title. Episode 1, Why Sleep Matters for this specific listener, through the lens of her why. Episode 2, Common Myths and False Expectations that make them feel like failures. Episode 3, 1 or 2 practical, realistic changes anyone could try this week. Episode 4, a story episode, real-world examples of small wins and setbacks. And Episode 5, how to keep going when progress isn't linear and how this ties back to the bigger why of the show. None of these episodes were huge productions. She didn't suddenly turn her show into a documentary series. She simply decided, for the next 5 weeks, my engine, my why, is going to push us all in one very specific direction. What changed? First, planning got easier. She wasn't staring at a blank page anymore. She had a lane, and each episode was just one step along that path. Second, her listener experience improved. New listeners could jump in at the start of a mini-season and know, for the next few episodes, we're going to talk about sleep, slowly, in a way that fits my life. Existing listeners felt like they were on a journey. They could see where they'd been and where they were going. Third, Dana felt less pressure to cover everything. She knew there would be time in future mini-seasons to tackle stress, food, or movement. She didn't have to cram all of her expertise into every single episode. The key is that her why chose the theme. She wasn't just picking topics at random. She asked, given what my show is here to do, what's one area where a short, focused arc would really help my listener? That's the shift I want you to make too. Let's talk about how you can design your own mini-season around a why-driven theme. You don't need a complex planning system. You just need your why, your promise, and a willingness to focus for a few episodes. Step 1, identify 2 to 3 big themes under your why. Look at your why statement and your show promise. Ask yourself, what are the main categories of change or support I'm trying to offer? Maybe it's mindset, habits, skills, relationships, stories from the field. Write down 2 or 3 broad themes that sit directly under your why. Step 2, choose one theme that feels both important and doable right now. You're not picking forever. You're just picking your next arc. Ask, if my listener made progress in one area over the next month, which one would help them the most, given my why? Pick the one that lights you up and feels realistic to create around. Step 3, sketch a 3 to 5 episode path under that theme. You don't have to lock in titles yet, just outline the journey. For example, for a given theme, you might have 1, a big picture episode, why this matters for your specific listener through your why. 2, a myths, mistakes episode, what usually goes wrong or keeps them stuck. 3, a practical moves episode, 1 or 2 realistic steps they can take. 4, a story episode, examples from your experience or composite listener journeys. And 5, a staying with it episode, how to keep going when it's not perfect. You can shorten it to 3 episodes if it's more manageable, why it matters, what's getting in the way, and what to do next. Now here's today's why question. If you committed to a 3 to 5 episode mini-season right now, what single why-aligned theme would you choose? And what would you want your listener to be able to say about themselves by the end of it? Write that down, name the theme, then finish this sentence. By the end of this mini-season, I want my listener to feel, believe, be able to do, insert that specific thing. That sentence becomes your compass for the arc. Every episode you plan under that theme should support that outcome. You don't have to announce it as season 3 or give it a big label if you don't want to. You can quietly structure your next few episodes around this theme and see how it feels. If it works for you and your audience, you can start thinking in these mini-seasons more often. If you'd like help picking that theme and mapping out a simple why-driven arc, that's something I love doing with podcasters who feel scattered and want a clearer path. You can book a clarity call with me. Just head over to My Podcast Guy online. We'll look at your why, your listener, and your current ideas, and then design a mini-season that actually fits your life and serves your mission. Thanks for listening to the Podcast Why. I'm Brett Johnson, My Podcast Guy, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.